In a world of uncertainty, the Ronin stands apart. A master of sales and marketing who answers to no one. Forge your own path. Create your own success. 1,000 leaders, 1,000 Ronins. Will you be next? Join the revolution now. Step into mastery at revenueronin.com.
Hey, this is Nick with Forex Off-Road. I just wanted to reach out and let you guys know the impact that Justin, the Revenue Ronin, has been making for our business. We've been open for 2.5 years, and he's been with us as our marketing guru the whole time. He sure has made a huge impact for us. You know where we are, definitely on the path for a 10x for Forex. Thank you, Justin. Phew. Hey, this is Nick with Forex Off-Road.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome. Great to have you aboard today. It's Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. We're in the Revenue Ronin community, and great to have you aboard. Will and Jane and Dan Ryan, Lucia, and Tama. Great to have you guys aboard here. Please like and repost the space. And I accepted you up here, Will. I'm not sure what's happening here, but it shows you a speaker. But can I hear you? Will, are you there?
Hello?
Okay,
Can you hear
good.
me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes. How's it going? Welcome.
It's good. I was able to join on time today, and it was like so weird. I joined and I heard my own voice coming back to me. So I was like, oh, wow, I remember doing that. But yeah, great to see everybody today.
Yeah, awesome space yesterday, Will. Really enjoyed that with you and Avni. That's one of my favorite spaces, every week. And yeah, I mean, people really enjoy the inner game and the outer game, and you got to have both, right? You got to have both. And so, but yeah, really great points everyone was making. Great discussion as always. And yeah, it's really, good fuel for the journey, right? Fuel for the journey. And, what comes to mind is, look, people are always mentioning on X like how challenging it is, with oh man, I'm building, I have to do marketing and all this stuff, and really, your biggest competitor is who you were yesterday, but also who are you outlasting? Okay, who are you outlasting? So, in business, in entrepreneurship, it's a matter of outlasting the competition, right? You got to outlast people. So most people, the average person, they're not, in it for the long haul, or maybe they're in it, but they haven't just been seeing the fruits of their labor just yet. And this is what I call paying your dues or putting in the reps, and also building your sweat equity and also your brand equity. And so, in the startup life, sweat equity is a big deal, right? So you can take a lower salary typically, and they'll give you more equity in the company, is kind of how that works. And yeah, it's not an easy game. It's not an easy thing, but I think we're going to see more and more entrepreneurs joining the ranks of entrepreneurship because of, life situations, job displacement, fill in the blank, AI. A lot of these things are going to continue to trend up, but at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity. HubSpot is acquiring media companies. OpenAI is acquiring, a media company. So what they're doing is you're seeing that there's distribution and trust already there with an established audience. And so, where are you going to play in this space? Where do you, position yourself? These are questions that come to mind. But yeah, jump in here, Will. Go for it.
Well, you mentioned something interesting there, which was like, people are putting in a lot of time and effort here. But again, a lot of people don't know the rules of the game they're playing, I find. And, Alex Samosi put a video out. I posted it in the community on making content. He was going back to his first pieces of content. And he was saying, you can get good at just about anything if you start, take on feedback to get better, and just never quit. Like those 3 steps. And that's really it. Because if it's what you want to do, And this is what we talked about yesterday about being interested versus being committed. It's like if it's what you want to do, who cares how long it takes? If it's going to be what you do, then it's going to be what you do. And if you're in it, if you're committed, if it's who you're going to be, then it might take 5 years or 10 years. But ultimately, what does it matter? Because it's like when you try and get abs in the gym, right? The golden rule is don't try and get abs, learn to love the exercise. And then the abs are a byproduct. The revenue is a byproduct. And you might like this, Justin, as well. I'm not sure if you guys know who Jack Moses is. We've been on a few spaces together, but he wrote a great article on the flow of money and the idea that it is a currency. And there's so much of our etymology, so much of our words are around this. And the word revenue came up, Justin. I'm just wondering, I'm just curious if you know what the word revenue actually means, like where the origins of the word came from, because I think you'll enjoy it if you didn't.
No, please enlighten me.
Okay, so this isn't mine, by the way. It's all credit to Jack Moses for putting this together. But the word revenue comes from the French word, right, which is revenir, and it means to return. So what revenue actually is the return that you get on your outputs. And I found that's a really interesting thing to think about because many people are like, well, how do I earn money? How do I get money? And much like abs in the gym, the money is a byproduct of service rendered. And it's like, that's the game you're playing. You're not playing the game of stacking the money. You're playing the game of stacking the service and solving the problems. And then the money is a byproduct. I feel like it's really important just to always be reminding ourselves of that. So the currency is the flow, right? This is what Jack's article was about. When you have, and again, if you think about the language we use, right, the stream of income, the currency, liquidity, and then it stops at the bank, which is the side of the river, that's how it's designed to be. And I think a lot of people are going about it the wrong way, thinking about money like it is something to hoard and something to strive after and something to struggle for. But money is a byproduct of service. So like struggle to be of service, to be useful, to be valuable, and then the money takes care of itself. So I just thought that was really interesting and a bit of a fun thing because I learned a new word today, what revenue actually means.
I love the origins of that, to receive and it's really, you hit the nail on the head. It's really a byproduct of the value you provide to the marketplace. And, if people aren't making the revenue that they, think they should be making, then the market is just not responding to the value that you're demonstrating or putting out there just yet. And that's where today's topic really comes into play is, do you have social proof? What is your track record? And how are you shaping that as part of your story? Because anyone you could become involved with, business, uh, clients, partnerships, fill in the blank, it always starts with your story. They want to know more about you, right? And story is very relatable because everyone has a story, right? But as Tony Robbins would say, people let their story control them and hold them back from what their full potential is. And so don't let your story, you're constantly rewriting your own story. You have the pen in your hand. So if you don't like the narrative, then you change it. You have that power. So once you establish who you're being, this is why, Will, I'm glad you're here because this is, very relevant because you teach on this. It all starts with who you're being. Once you decide, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. And this is my story, right? This is my story right now, where I'm at in my life. And then take that and then you just run with that. And you attract clients and you fulfill clients and you keep them happy. That's essentially it. But to get the social proof, to get the track record, we all have those high income skills that you should be leaning into. You should be committed towards mastery of your high income skills, and then you just don't stop. You just keep going, and your bank account will continue to rise when you continue to get more wins under the belt. And this is why I played my client testimonial intro here because, this was a big deal for them. I'm 10xing their business, you know? So, and we're all sharing in those rewards, right? They're happy, I'm happy, everyone's happy. And that's what it's all about is keeping clients happy really leaning into your high income skill, mastering it, and delivering results, and the revenue will come in. So, but yeah, any thoughts on that, Will?
I mean, just to circle back to the idea that it's about mastering your craft, and I think that that is it's almost a lost art these days, you know. And we've talked about this before about how we live now in the age, we're in a post-information age, I believe. And maybe it's not fully there yet, but I really believe it's moving that way. That information is now a solved problem for the majority, right? You can always find a fringe case, but if somebody wants to learn how to do something, today you can learn how to do something. And you know, there was a great TED talk that said 20 hours in and you're in the top 5% in the world at anything, right? So if you can learn something and over the course of a weekend get into the top 5% in the world, then the barrier to entry now no longer is informational. It's no longer in terms of, because like the way it used to be was you'd apprentice with a master and they would parcel out information as you demonstrated mastery of the previous level. And that's how, you know, standards were kept high. That's how information was passed down. But now you can just go out there and learn anything you want to learn. If I want to learn the mandolin, I have no desire to do so, by the way, I could do that. I could go and get a mandolin, go on ChatGPT, go on YouTube, and like say, hey, I just want to learn the basics. Give me the bottom 80% in the next 20 hours. And I could be there. So it really comes down now to the barrier of entry has been lowered, is what I'm saying with this. So now the mastery of the craft itself is the differentiator, because it's not about the bottom 80% anymore. It's about being it's about the top 20%. Like with what I do, coaching, for example, my coaching is identity based. So a lot of that is non-tangible ROI, which is quite hard to sell. And to be completely honest with you guys, if you go to Claude or ChatGPT or Grok, it'll do the bottom 80%. You can feel better, quote unquote. And you might actually make some progress, see things from another point of view. So my goal now is to master the top 20%, which is actually the deliverable, the implementable, the I did this and it changed my behavior, which changed my results, right? Because that is something that chat can't do just yet. So I think that it's about mastering the craft, if I had to put a finer point on it, Justin. And I think that, you know, this is what you've been saying since day one, which is mastery in motion, right? Committed to getting better. And I think we've also got a golden opportunity in that arena because everyone's looking for a shortcut, only to find out after 2 or 3 years of trying that the shortcut is doing the thing well. So that's my initial thought on it. Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I mean, the 10,000 hour rule by, Malcolm Gladwell, it's like 10,000 hours towards mastery, and um that's a great book for those who haven't read it, but I'll summarize it for you. It takes 10,000 hours to, kind of master a skill, and if you stick to that craft for, a significant amount of time and commit to it, right, you can achieve, great results. So um, and then
jump in there, if
yeah.
it's okay. Just to sort of, I want to counter that
hmm
because I think that is one way to look at it, but I don't think it's the most practical way to look at it. Because like if somebody sees that, they see that as a giant mountain to climb, and I think that can be quite dissuasive to the average person. So because I've read Malcolm Gladwell, I've read Blink, I've read a couple of his books. Really, really great guy. Love his philosophy, but I think that 10,000 hour rule, I think it was taken out of context for the majority. I think the average person does not need more than like 100 hours to get in the trenches and get to proficiency. Right? Mastery, for sure, will take discipline. It will take commitment. It will take repetition, because again, mastery is where you have trained your ability to basically predict the outcome to a degree of error that is negligible. That's what mastery is. Basically, you've eliminated errors to a very high level. But proficiency, you can do that in like 2 weeks at just about any skill in the world. If you want to learn cold calling, I could teach you cold calling in just about 2 weeks, and you'd be in the top 5 to 10%, because the actual activity is profoundly simple. And you can think about this in terms of any business, right? Cold calling is literally pick up phone, dial number, say words. That's it. Now, of course, there's nuance to it, but that's what the training is for. it's the other 90%, which is the mental side, right? That's the stuff that makes it quote unquote hard to get wealthy, because the actual activity is profoundly simple. It's the application that stops people. And I think that it's a disservice to say to somebody, hey, you won't get to mastery until 10,000 hours. You will get to mastery the moment you commit to mastery. In my opinion, you will get to that place where you're no longer trying to strive to get something that you are not. And this gets a little bit more into the identity than I think we want to do in this space here. But again, just the basics, right? You either are or you are not. And it's about being it and then not contradicting it. Or better said, being it internally and then not contradicting it behaviorally. That's the real mastery. If you can do that, then I don't care how long you've been in the game for, because if you continue that path, you will only get better. So you are functionally at the place where you now have enough skill to be proficient. And I think that that's super achievable in less than 100 hours.
Yeah, I like that perspective. So really be it then
Yeah,
be
this came from, do you remember a couple of years ago when we first met on X, you said, fake it till you make it, and we had a conversation, and I said, be it till you see it.
yes.
This is kind of my evolved methodology, right? So I used to say, be it till you see it. And then I used to say, be it and don't contradict it. And now I say, be it internally, and then don't contradict it behaviorally. And that's truly how you make an identity shift. And it does not take very long at all. It's just about replacing the dominant prediction paths. But yeah, be it internally and don't contradict it behaviorally.
Yeah, be it and then do it, right? Be it, do it. And it starts with who you're being. And, the difference high level between proficiency and mastery. So proficiency is just your competence, right? So, demonstrated, skilled, high level application of knowledge, getting a proficient score, right? Versus mastery is the expertise part, which really represents the deeper comprehension and, often viewed as the ability to apply skills in complex new situations, scoring at a mastery level. So yeah, you don't need to be a master, to Will's point. You just need to, become proficient enough in the high income skill and just do the thing and demonstrate, hey, this is part of storytelling, which is really powerful, right? So when I go into clients, I tell them about my AI journey, right? Like, they like to say, oh, how are you with AI? What have you been doing with AI? And I just, I tell them my story, right? Well, I started using AI 2 years ago, ChatGPT, and currently now these are the tools that I'm using, and here's what I'm doing with it is the most important part. Here's what I'm doing with AI. Here's what I've been, leveraging it for my business and for my clients to, increase their ad performance and, you know, do things that would normally take 2 months in 2 days, right? These are the types of things that come with, becoming proficient with the tool. And AI is like learning a new language, if you will. So, just like, social media for business was like a new language back in 2008, 2009, 2010. And thank you for your post here, John Carlos. Good to see you. He's running errands with the family. So, but he did add some good contributions here. He got into social media back in 2011, so like 2 years after I did. And he found Bitcoin, ignored it initially. He went hard on social, and then he developed continuous improvement process that, he deploys across domains now, and he's brought in $23 million in client profits. That's what it's all about is, what is your track record, right? How much revenue have you been able to bring in for yourself and your clients? And then he got into Bitcoin in 2016 finally. Similar time frame, started shifting to operational solutions. Found those to be the source of most marketing issues after deep investigation. Absolutely. Yeah. So there's marketing and then there's marketing ops. Okay. Like big difference, huge difference. So the difference between essentially is like you have to have operations, driving the game, but the marketing side is the more tactical stuff, but you got to have the foundations in place first, and that's where marketing operations comes in. So that's a whole nother space in itself. And then in 2022, he got onto ChatGPT, came out and went all in on upskilling for an AI first world. Now about 8,000 hours in AI research and implementation. And now he's helping various industries via individuals and organizations adopt AI with the insight of all the trial and error that he's put into these systems to really derive consistently preferred outputs. So yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about right there, Don Carlos. I appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, it's really worth highlighting because that's been your journey. That's your story, right? So you got the social proof, you got the track record, and that's part of your story. And clients resonate with that. Clients will resonate with that. Prospects will resonate with that. And and the story is ongoing, right? The story is ongoing. It doesn't stop. That's what's good about, building your personal brand and storytelling is it's constantly evolving. You're constantly iterating it. And the other thing to mention too is just like companies mature, company brands mature, we mature as humans, right? Our personal brands mature. And that's the, evolution and growth of growing a personal brand and a business. And you'll go through these growth spurts, sometimes setbacks as well. But this is part of, what shapes your story. And each of us individually, our uniqueness. People, why do people want to work with, one person versus another? Well, they're resonating more with, you know, one person. I mean, they can go to a Tony Robbins concert or whatever, but they choose to work with Will, right? They choose to work with Will. They don't want to just watch a YouTube video, right? They want access to Will. They want access to his expertise. Same with John Carlos, right? There's a reason why people choose John Carlos because of his expertise, his story, and his track record and his, social proof that he's developed. So really important, and you got to document this, right? And feed it to your LLM. Like I have in my knowledge base all my case studies. This includes employer case studies and also client case studies. And I had to make a distinction in Claude to correct it because I didn't want to mention some of the companies because I don't think they deserve to be mentioned. So, but I'll share that for another time. But, I wanted to highlight the results. So, I'd made sure, hey, moving forward, don't mention this company name. I only want to mention the results. And I had to get it back on track. So, but yeah, you want to feed all this, all your track record, all your wins. You want to feed this to the LLM. Okay, really important because then this will help shape your content. And it does it all the time when I'm sharing the transcript from the space and I'm creating new content. It pulls in the relevant case study automatically in my outputs. So yeah, it's really powerful. So thanks, John Carlos, for sharing that. Really appreciate that perspective and great to have you aboard. And yeah, we're having a great discussion here, guys. Please like and repost the space. I do have some exciting news to report here. So I'm actually going to LA today, which, I live in San Diego, so that's about a 2 hour drive, 2.5 hours. And that's, without traffic, so probably like a 3 hour drive. And the HeyGen, I got invited to, I popped in my email yesterday. I was shocked, which now I have Claude integrated with my email, so I do these daily summaries every day. It's pretty cool. So I get it like a daily recap, and I have Claude tied to my Gmail, my calendar, and obviously my Google Drive. And I tell it every day, like, hey, give me a highlight for the day here. So it basically scans everything and then it elevates like, all my email, all my, calendar appointments that are important and kind of gives me a summary as like my executive assistant. And it's been working really well. And, but HeyGen has this event where they're HeyGen Hands-On Labs C Dance 2.0 live demo and digital twin filming. So I'm excited, and it was, you had to get approved, right? So I signed up, and then it's like they approved my submission. So that's exciting. I'll be going to LA today, and I'll, definitely get some, hopefully maybe do some live streaming while I'm there. But that'll be exciting to experience the HeyGen event in LA and get my digital twin filmed because yeah, there's definitely a big opportunity for anyone out there who, would take this on as a business model, because I'm going to start doing it with some of my clients, short form video creation. Man, it's like you can basically film them, using HeyGen, and then you can turn that into, content for short form video. And I mean, it looks like them, it sounds like them, everything. And just, start feeding that out to the social handles. And yeah, short form video. Our good buddy, Lazy Canadian Jim, he's always told us his strategy for doing 30 million a month is just, 10 to 20 videos a day for 2 years, if you can commit to that, and on Instagram and TikTok. And that's how he's been able to drive email subscribers into his offer, and make 30K a month. So it's definitely doable, it's definitely achievable. But yeah, short form video, don't be sleeping on it. That's for sure. So it looks like Will had to run here. I would love for some people to come up here and join me. And we got a few more minutes left, so please don't be shy. Come on up here, grab the mic. Okay, Will's coming back. Okay, good, good, good. Yeah, I don't want to be up here, monologuing on my own. So, but yeah, Will, back over to you. Thanks for coming back up.
It's all right. So you decided to dip out. I heard you say you were going to LA today. That was the last thing I heard.
Yeah, it's a HeyGen event. So HeyGen, for those of you who don't know what HeyGen is, it's an video AI platform, and I've used it, I've played with it, I've tested it, I've showed it to some clients, they're using it, and it's a HeyGen hands-on lab C-Dance 2.0 live demo and digital twin filming. So that's going to be happening from 6 to 8 tonight Pacific time. So I'll be up there in LA, which is exciting. And yeah, I mean, short form video, you can't sleep on it. That's for sure. So, um, but yeah, Will, back over to you. Anything exciting happening, or what are you doing for your social proof? I know that's one of the areas that you've been working on, getting more social proof. And so, yeah, jump in here.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we've been doing, myself and my clients over the last couple of months now, is we've been tracking basically daily execution. So I built, as we talked about, the unshakable operating system for solopreneurs, which is basically like a declaration and proof logging system. So we ran it manually through school. In a second school community, it was declarations in the morning, proof in the afternoon, right? So in the morning, you say what you're going to do. In the afternoon, you prove it with evidence. And we've got, I think, 4 members now with over 100 days of unbroken progress, or 100 days of unbroken consistency. So we've got, and Trish was one of them. She was in the space last night, and she was happy to give a testimonial on the space. But one of the things I'm considering now that we have that social proof, and that's led to business growth, actual, tangible outcomes, is doing a new product called Your First 100 Days, specifically designed for new entrepreneurs. Because as we talked about before, the biggest failure point for an entrepreneur is the fact that they're going to quit. And we looked at the stats. It was 88% of people will quit within 4 months. So one of the things I was thinking about building, and now that I have the proof to back it up, is Your First 100 Days. So it's like low ticket, $500 or something like that. And they'll basically just get access to my system and to our weekly check-ins to make sure that they have a reliable external metric holder, effectively. Because as I was saying on the space yesterday, when it comes to changing behavior, there's only 2 levers that you can pull, right? There's the standards, and then there's the actual behavior itself. And a lot of people try and brute force the behavior when it's the standards that will actually determine whether it sticks long term or not. And it takes a very rare breed of person. I'm not saying it's impossible. It takes a rare breed of person to hold the standard and the behavior at the same time. And it can be done. But when it's both of those are held by the individual, especially if they're a solopreneur doing everything else as well, then what typically tends to happen is that the behavior drops, right? So the standard drops. The standard drops to meet the level of behavior. Whereas if you've got an external person holding the standard, the only metric left, the only lever you've got to pull is the behavior. Because you can't drop the standard, somebody else is holding that. Your only choice is to bring the behavior up to meet the standard. And this is why personal trainers in the gym are so effective. It's not because you're better at doing the exercise when they're around. I mean, they might be able to correct your form, which is a marginal gain, but it's the fact that you show up and you do the exercise because that's the standard. And so that's something that's on my plate, which I want to get some help putting together for the market, because I think that's going to be genuinely useful for a lot of people, especially with forced entrepreneurship. And we're going to have so many people trained in a employee first mindset who are conditioned to have oversight, direct reports, things like that. So yeah, I think that's going to be helpful. And to your point then, Justin, about content, I'm not a fan of short form content, but I am a fan of, we'll say, useful mid form content. So one thing I'm considering doing, which is something AI can't do, is doing a project where I make a video every day for like 500 days to be the proof of my promise. So that's what's currently on my plate.
Yeah, I love that, Will. And yeah, I mean, let me know if you want to take it offline, but I'd love to see how we can wrap in the Revenue Ronin apprentice plan as part of that, if you're open to it for a collaboration, in that price point to help them on some of the sales and marketing mastery stuff. Because I do have the, ask the Ronin anything, as you know, you've been in there, and so I think that might be helpful. So let's take that offline. It's currently $30 a month, which I raised the price because of supply and demand, and it used to be $20 a month. So, all of those people are locked in at a grandfather price. So, and then the other thing I would suggest is if you're open to it, so like 497 instead of like 500. Why? Because there's something psychologically when it's underneath like that higher price point, it does something in the mind that actually triggers people to say, wow, that's just under $500. I better take advantage of this. So there's two schools of thought here, but in my experience, for whatever reason, the people that I've talked to, they appreciated that, that it was under this amount, right? Well, it was only under 5,000, Justin, 4,997. So I had to take advantage. If it was over 5,000, it wouldn't be, it'd be as comfortable for me. So that's why I took it. It was under 5K. And so I'm working on a $5,000 offer, so 4,997 for my San Diego event in May, and it's going to include a full day event with me personally. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs in San Diego. There'll be over 100 people in this room for sure. And so if I get you know 5 sales at 5K, like that's a pretty good day. So so I'm aiming for 50K. If I can walk in that room and do 50K, like that will be the business outcome ideally that I'd be looking for. But I will have some down sales as well. We talked about offer structure earlier in the week. It's really important to make sure you have your offers dialed in. And yeah, so yeah, let me know if you're open to that, Will. And thanks for grabbing the co-host. And guys, we only got about 25 minutes left. Um, but yeah, I think the the 500 videos for a year, like I mean, that's a big commitment. That's over a year.
I'll just jump in with this, right? So I've been doing this anyway. I've done a video every day. Well, it wasn't a video, it was a live call which we recorded and published every day, Monday to Saturday, since July last year. And I was doing that, and I was doing it at 1 p.m. UK. So it was about just before this space. And what I noticed was like many people were saying, well, I'd like to come, but that's too early because it's 5 a.m. LA time. And it's too late for our friends in New Zealand. And I've got some people there who are like, well, I'd like to join, but I'm in bed. It's like one in the morning. So I was thinking, well, what if we did that same structure? Because the goal of these videos is like a daily calibration. I'm sure you've seen it in the calendar for the community. And it's that thing that everyone knows that they should take time to get their head straight before the day starts, right? There's books on it, like the Miracle Morning, the Morning Pages book. Many successful people have that morning ritual, and yet they don't do it. They get swept up in the hustle and bustle of the day. They open their phone and they get their mind hijacked. So what I've been doing for the last almost a year now, since July last year, is that daily calibration call where we get people lined up for the day and get them in a powerful state. Well, I was thinking, well, what if I just did that and put it on YouTube? And then I saw that from Tyler on Beehive that I can put podcasts on Beehive now. I was thinking, well, what if I just do a daily 10 to 15 minute podcast where I'm guiding people through the practice of doing their meditation, their breathing, their journaling, whatever it is, that we do on that day, because people know they should do it, but they don't do it. And like, I don't blame them. Their mind is usually cooked right from the beginning of the day. So what I've been doing for the members is basically just guiding them through it so they can just show up, turn their brain off, and get the benefit. And then there was a part of me that thinks, well, why don't I just put that on YouTube and Spotify so that no matter where they are in the world, they can do it first thing in the morning. And that's what came up. And I was talking to the community saying, do you guys want this? And a lot of people were saying, yeah, I'd love to. I can finally, get the benefit real time. So that's what I'm thinking. And the benefit of this to me then is if I can do this for 500 days, I can probably, count on two hands the amount of people in the world that would actually do that. But it's like become the proof of the promise. Because like ultimately it is about who you're being consistently, not occasionally. And if that can be me or other people, then they'll get the benefits and ultimately hopefully get to the stage where they can work with me deeper. So everyone wins. That's what the current strategy looks like.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a big difference between knowing what to do and not doing the thing. But then there's also a caveat to that. Knowing what is that isn't true. Okay, so this is where I see some people fall into the trap of, they know something and it used to work or whatever, but it doesn't work anymore. Or, there's always different perspectives, right? There's always different perspectives. But the ultimate thing for me is revenue in the bank, right? Revenue in the bank account. That's the North Star. So, um, and there's just a lot of people that don't know what they don't know, and people have blind spots, and they get this tunnel vision. They're so set in their ways, and myself included, right? You get this tunnel vision, you're so focused, but you need that outside perspective to keep you calibrated, to keep you on track. And so yeah, I think, and the fact that you can repurpose that content even better, right? Because you can repurpose content pretty easily now. And so you got to think more strategically on how I can repurpose my content. And and and
I'll
yeah.
just jump in on that
Hmm.
because,
Yeah.
that's something I have been thinking of. Because when we were talking to Christelle, maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, and I was saying, well, hey, I've got 180 videos in my back catalog that are just sitting there without anyone watching them. I was like, well, yeah, that's definitely something I can do. And again, I'm just like I say, when I look at the world and I look at the people I'm following, the people I'm actually consuming content of, which is less and less these days, I see some trends now going in a direction I don't prefer, which is they are over relying on the AI. And I think it was Hamosi that says the other day, like he was just talking to somebody. He's like, yeah, it shows that you're doing that. And I think that becomes our competitive advantage is the fact that people want people at the end of the day. So yeah, this is something I'm very excited about. And here's a fun thing. I wasn't going to say this in public, but I trust you guys. And I pretty much shared everything with you guys. I am 40 years old in 509 days. So I'm going to line this up so that I'm doing it for 500 days and it'll end on my 40th birthday. Because I think that would be pretty fun. I think that would be something that not a lot of people in history have ever done. So that'd be interesting. And I've also popped the quote from what you said there, Justin, from Mark Twain, which I love. He said, "It ain't what you know that gets you into trouble; it's what you know for sure that just ain't so."
Wow, love the commitment, Will. Yeah, that's a big commitment there, a big milestone to aim for. And yeah, I love how that's all lining up. And you know, committing to something like that milestone is big. And then, sharing it here in this, safe space, I think is even more fuel for you because, doing it in a public setting, it holds you more accountable and, really helps lock in your mission, right? And that's why I'm all about the mission, right? Like everyone's on a mission. They should have a clear mission that they're aiming for. And, and it's all about building a movement around you and your mission. And this is what fuels you, right? This is literally what fuels you. This isn't just another marketing campaign, a little tactic. No. Like when things are mission driven and it's really, part of your purpose and you're building a movement, there's power in that, right? There's power in, taking that on. So I applaud you for taking that step and committing and acknowledging and sharing it with us. And yeah, it's just been a great journey to follow you on this journey. And yeah, man, it's, keep crushing it, and keep checking in along the way here. So, because yeah, I mean, and this may sound harsh, but I remember this video from Gary Vaynerchuk. He was, this lady had asked him while he was in one of his Ubers driving. She's like, "Hey, Gary, man, I love you, big fan. So, what do I need to do here? And how can I get better and blah blah blah." And he's like, "You're gonna die." She's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna die. That should be enough motivation for you to make things happen. Don't wait. Don't sleep on your life." And he's like, the girl was like completely shocked. I mean, anyone, if someone tells you, "Hey, you're gonna die," the first thing they say to you, you're just like, "What the?" I mean, it was a complete shocker, right? But it really woke the girl up because that's the truth, right? Our time here is finite. I have aging parents now. I have to, like, start to help them out now. They're in their 70s. And so, I mean, that's just reality. So knowing that, hey, time is finite here, like we got to make things happen. We got to make things happen. Like that's why I say at the end of my space, build your legacy, right? Because legacy is greater than currency, as Gary Vaynerchuk says. That's his quote. So, yeah, don't stop building your thing. Even if you work in corporate, God bless you. Thank God you have a job, and you got to do your thing on the side. So, but yeah, good stuff. And welcome to the stage, Riley and Yvonne. So good to see you back in the fold here. I hope you're doing well. And I was just sharing with everyone earlier, Yvonne, you'll love this. I'm going to LA today to go to the HeyGen. What is it? HeyGen. Here it is. HeyGen C Dance 2.0 live demo and digital twin filming. So that will be exciting. I haven't been to LA for a little while, so it's just 2-3 hour drive depending on traffic. But yeah, I'll be over in LA there. It wasn't, I had to get approved, right? So I registered. They invited me to register, and then they had to approve my registration. And, I don't know, maybe they looked me up or whatever, and they approved me. So I'll be at the HeyGen Hands-On Lab C-Dance 2.0 live demo and digital twin filming. So that's exciting. I've been, playing around with HeyGen a little bit. I've introduced some of my clients to HeyGen. We have some attorneys that we're working with that we're going to use HeyGen. We're going to record them and we're going to help them with their short clip videos. Because, TikTok and Instagram Reels for attorneys is really good. They can, share expertise, build their personal brand, and generate some organic. And just as a reminder, so there's two forms of marketing, right? There's paid and there's organic, right? That's it. There's, what are you doing from a paid standpoint and what are you doing organically? And we know the power of organic. And then once you have things that are converting and you're getting traction organically, then it's time to step into the paid game and do some paid ads. So, but yeah, great to have you here, Yvonne. Let's pass it over to you, and then we'll go to Riley. Yvonne, welcome. How are you doing?
Hey guys, it's been a minute. Oh my goodness, it's so good to see you guys. I'm so happy to be like back in spaces, like even dipping out and having to take care of my health crap, which is super irritating. Oh my God, it's so frustrating. I hate even not being able to participate in spaces and stuff. So, because every time I come in here, I get this surge of entrepreneurship, that we all have. And man, I love what you were sharing about HeyGen, dude. That is fire. I was actually, even though I've been on the DL, finally coming up to the surface again, I was doing some research yesterday specifically on like TV show ratings versus podcast stats and stuff like that, and just how the old medium of television, because I want to start posting interviews of actors and people like that, that they have on these morning talk shows and stuff. And we don't have a lot of that on X. So I was kind of doing a little bit of due diligence just so I can start posting more video content and making it relevant. And that's kind of a hole in the market here on X that I've noticed, right? People like resurface a lot of other videos, But a lot of those like newer interviews and stuff, they don't have that. So I was also checking on the stats of what the ratings are with that. And the ratings, you guys, for podcasts are like 5 times, like three to 5 times, depending on the show, that traditional like Good Morning America, Live with Kelly and Mark and stuff like that are. And it was really mind-boggling, right? Because I'm so used to the traditional medium of broadcasting and stuff like that. But one of the things that I also did as a correlation to check in regards to podcasts and the rise of that, which is obviously why they have a category, I think it's at the Academy now, they even have a category with that. And so I kind of wanted to check into that. And one of the things that they were saying is with that being on the rise, that's how a lot of the younger generation of people are consuming information. But they were also saying that I think it's when you have video, because I was curious, like, do people usually find the shows with audio first? Like, how are people watching the videos? Are they watching them on Spotify or just on YouTube and stuff like that? And what's the correlation? Do they usually listen first? Do they watch first? And it was really interesting, the stats that I figured out. And one of the things that I thought was really powerful is that when you have video, because apparently the way that a lot of people have the discovery of that, which X Spaces and some of the stuff that we're doing here is a lot like podcasting, right? One of the things that they were saying is that video grows like 7 times faster than the audio rate. And usually people discover the podcast initially from the videos that they end up finding on YouTube and things like that. And then they end up listening to the podcast. But a lot of people actually prefer listening to the podcast as a whole. But a lot of the initial discoverability comes from watching the videos initially first. And then people will just listen to the audio even without watching the video, and sometimes then go back to watch the video. And it's just fascinating how the market is changing with that. So HeyGen for things like that is going to be incredible for them bringing in new business and stuff like that. So that's freaking super exciting. I love HeyGen. It is so high quality.
Yeah, those are some good, correlations there, and good to have you back in the fold, Yvonne. We missed you, and I hope you're doing well. And I thought of you yesterday when I went to um, one of my clients. They're in a office in San Diego, and one of their neighboring offices there, and they gave me a tour at this gym. They have infrared red light therapy. They had a sauna. They have a plunge room. Like they have a wellness room, which is, massage chairs and all that stuff. I was like, oh man, Yvonne would be in heaven here. So I was thinking about you, but yeah, on the side of, so I've actually been uploading to, many people may not know this, but I've actually been uploading some of the spaces um, from Zoom. I record the Zoom, right? Recording it right now. I take the Zoom video, which I don't have my video on. I just, get it for just the recording and the audio, but then I take that and I upload it to Spotify. And then from there it goes to, all the podcast channels, and yeah, and sometimes I upload the video versus just the audio to Spotify and, the Apple Podcast. And yeah, I will say that it looks like when you upload videos, sometimes they get more traction than just the audio file themselves. So experiment with both. And then I also take it to YouTube as well. Now it's, maybe, boring content, but at least it's content. It's, I don't think it's boring, but, and I know you guys don't think it's boring, but, having an hour and a half long YouTube video, just sitting there, but, you can always access the transcript. You can always, listen to the replay there, as well as the audio space. So I think, and it's really easy to do, right? It's really easy to do. So we were talking about content repurposing earlier. But just experiment and you may see a trend that, hey, when I upload a video, I get more streams than not. And yeah, I didn't know that you were such a big fan of HeyGen. So yeah, I'm not too versed in it, very basic, but I can't wait to go there and, experience in person and connect and collab. And it's big business when you can interview other celebrities and entertainers and musicians. And, this is a big, you see all these podcasts out there that are getting acquired right now, right? Like they're getting acquired, like Starter Story got acquired by HubSpot. And so I think because, there's high trust with the audience, right? It all comes down to the distribution and the trust. And I think having fresh perspectives and fresh content with, celebrities and whoever else, even I want to start interviewing some local businesses here in San Diego to just get them on the show, get them on a podcast. That's where my Be Real X Talk show was kind of heading. And yeah, taking that content, and it's a great business model, because here's what ends up happening as a byproduct is they get visibility, you get visibility, but then they potentially become your clients. So there's another gentleman, I forget his name, but anyways, the point is he would interview all these business people, and then some of them would become his clients. So, because it allows you to go deeper, more intimate, and build relationships. And so then the byproduct of that can potentially be, hey, you know what? I really like Yvonne. Hey, thanks for interviewing me, Yvonne. And, now that they know more about what Yvonne does, and they're like, yeah, you know what? I need help with my brand building online. And, I need to build my email newsletter, and, I need to build some stuff. And, I have all these fans, I have all these connections and followers, like, but I'm not monetizing it, right? So help me with that, Yvonne. So I think it's a great idea. I think, the market is very primed for that type of style. The individual style videos on YouTube are great as well, because they're really teaching. And this is confirmed, you can double check this, but there's a big difference between education and entertainment, right? So there's a lot of entertaining stuff on YouTube, but it's like when you focus and shift towards more education and deeper knowledge, the revenue follows that as well. So don't just think you just have to be entertaining. Know that you can be entertaining and, education driven. And when you have that ability to share in more depth of your expertise, right? People really build trust, establish more trust, and then that can, turn into, good opportunities. I mean, I can't tell you how many um, times I've seen this guy on X here, Brad Smith. He does long form YouTube, and it's one of his top generators for leads is YouTube long form. So it's definitely possible. But yeah, let's throw it back over to you, Will.
I just wanted to jump in here because there's something I've seen from both sides, right? So my wife is into game streaming. She does a bit of that on the side. And we've got some friends who do that to quite a high level, a couple of 100,000 subscribers. They put out a couple of videos per month that get, 400,000 views. And like a lot of them are optimizing for ad revenue, which is very minimal, like CPMs and things like that. Because the entertainment, right, they monetize then on the back end through Patreon for exclusive access and stuff like that. But many of them are actually struggling to get beyond basic survival levels of income from their channel, even though they've got large exposure levels. And I think that this is only going to become more and more prevalent with AI, right? Because as more and more views are determined by, again, effectively the emotional impact of the content. So what we see is like, if people want to relax, they'll watch entertainment content, but that won't necessarily translate into problem solved equals cash collected, right? So I just wanted to speak on that because I've seen people in that situation. I've got 2 clients right now, which are content creators / YouTubers, and they're doing it a very different way. They're solving the problem first and then promoting it via the YouTube. But yeah, there's a guy I know. You can check him out. I think his handle is Hey, it's Rob. He does PlayStation gaming, a couple of 100,000. He's one of the guys to follow, right? Because he does it very, very well, and he makes about 6 figures doing it. But the average person that I speak to, they're not even clearing basic standard of living most of the time with multiple 6-figure subscriber counts. So yes, I've seen that happen a lot. And again, it's here on X as well. We see it occasionally. Massive subscriber, massive follower list, but no monetization strategy. And again, it just comes down to that question. It's like, what problem are you solving? Because if it's entertainment, well, hey, there's an abundance of that. That's not usually a monetizable problem. So just wanted to bring that to the table.
Yeah, that's a good, that's a good tie-in here, very relevant. And yeah, like really the main ways that I've seen people monetize is obviously through ad revenue, but then also brand deals is a big one. And that just comes from, you got to get out there and and hustle and make those connections and create those possibilities for yourself. And they don't just come unless you're like huge, right? They don't just come to you organically. Sometimes they do. That's the best one. But essentially you got to get out there and work for representation and collabs and brand deals. Now some of these directory platforms I've seen, they put you on the directory, and this is where a lot of people, they think that hey, I'm in the directory now. I'm going to get all this business. I'm going to get all these offers and stuff like that. It doesn't happen like that. Same with Upwork, same with all these job sites. It's the same thing, right? You just have a profile there. Okay, you have to optimize it, SEO. You have to get your rankings up. You may have to do boosts. That's why they sell ads. So don't think just by putting yourself, hey, I'm an influencer, these are my followings, put yourself in a directory and the business is going to flood in. That's not the reality. The reality is you have to promote yourself, you have to get out there, you have to game the algorithm in your favor to make sure that you're showing up when people are searching for influencers in AI, for example, or fill in the blank. So yeah, let's go back over to you, Yvonne, and then we're going to start wrapping up here. So, but yeah, take your time, no pressure, and we got some time here. So, and I definitely want to hear from Riley as well, and then maybe VR here as we wrap up. So good to see you, and good to see you, Sharon and John Carlos again. I pinned your post above. We got Butterfly
Re-
3. Yeah, go ahead, Riley.
real quick, Justin, before jumping into Yvonne, guys, if you guys were listening to this, if you have any questions or blockers, think about it. Let us know in the comments so that I can just pick a couple of questions and answer it, so you can leave the session with some really customized value. Back to you, Yvonne.
Oh my goodness, Riley, I love that you just said that. Yeah, because so many times, right? Like people want to know, or, I actually discovered this when I first started getting into doing the online stuff before I was even on social media and learned that whole game, which is a beast in and of itself. But that so many people, they're like, oh, maybe I want to start my own business, or maybe I want to do content creation, but I don't really know where to start. I don't really know where my niche is, like all these kind of things. Or, if I wanted to sell a product, I don't really know how to go about doing that or what exactly would I sell. And that's why being in mastermind groups like this, or even like sharing in that chat, right? It is incredible, you guys, the power. It still amazes me, even though we all know it and we experience it when we come together, of having a group of people together, more brains, more brain power, and then you're able to bounce ideas off another person that's done some of these things before, and they may have the one thing that you need just to get you started, right? To kind of get you started in a particular direction. And then as you do that, you will end up building off of that, right? Like maybe you start and you try one product and you're like, you know what? Oh, I could do this. I could start, doing videos talking about plumbing, for crying out loud, or something like that. Maybe I could do a course on how to become a plumber. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different things that there's a need for, because there's so much diversity and people have so many different interests. And sometimes you just need to bring it up to other people to even kind of get that idea wheel in your mind spinning, to then, start something, launch it, and then you can fine tune it from there. And I wanted to double down on what Will mentioned. I absolutely love that you mentioned that about the YouTube followers and people having like a lot of subscribers over there and stuff like that, and getting that ad revenue, because that's one of the biggest lessons. And I actually talk about this in the book that I'm writing. The biggest lessons, and also one of the biggest mistakes that I learned doing X for the last 3.5 years or so, building my account over here, when they first started monetization. So many people start to do that and they think that that's going to be where all the money is, and it's not. Like, you have to have these other revenue streams. You have to have your own mailing list. You have to have your own other products, your own other services and things like that you're offering. And then also, like you said, Justin, the sponsorships, that really is where the big money is, and getting those kinds of things while you're doing that content. And so many people think, oh, I'm just going to create a bunch of videos. And even a lot of the top creators on here, I'll land with this, a lot of the top creators on here, when they've been changing the algorithm and then they see a dip, and they've been doing this for 10 years, and then all of a sudden their money starts to go down, and they've changed the monetization on here so many freaking times all the time. And you don't want to be able to have to be subservient to the platform. You want to be able to call call the shots for yourself. And the money that you make here on the platform from the content, even if you're a big creator, man, that was so huge to understand, doesn't mean it's always going to be consistent. For one, you got to make sure that it's so much easier and faster and better to make money by building your own thing on the side, even if it's ebooks or a course or something like that, and having that diversity than it is just to rely on the creator revenue content of any particular platform. And I think that that is so freaking important for people to understand when you're starting this journey.
Yeah, it's definitely a big one for sure, Yvonne. And yeah, the brand deals, and let me just clarify something on the brand deals. So yes, it can be monetary value, but it can also be, hey, look, you just give me a free subscription to HeyGen, or hey, you just give me a free subscription to, fill in the blank, like a free subscription to Beehive, for example. Like, hey, I don't have to pay my $40 or whatever it is, $50 a month to Beehive now because I'm sponsored by Beehive, right? They're covering the investment of my monthly platform for free, but I'm able to talk more about them every single week, which I already do. It's already like I'm already doing it, so they might as well just maybe want to sponsor me, right? So don't think of it as it necessarily has to be a monetary value. Of course, if you're at that level, you aspire to be, you have the numbers, you have the trust, you have the distribution, you have the eyeballs, may go for it. I closed, 2 or 3 deals last year, on, I won't discuss the amount, but I closed a couple, decent sized deals last year for, the virtual synergy company sponsorship, and which is a VA company. And then also, uh, Play, which is an AI ads powered platform. So I closed deals with them, and all it took was me emailing them, me contacting them. I already used the service. So I said, "Hey, I'm already using your service." And that's kind of a good foot in the door, right? If you already use the service, right, you're already an advocate of it. It's a very easy transition into, hey, mind if I share with you my media kit? Here's, I'm getting 1 million impressions a year on average. These are the metrics, and I would love to mention you in a daily space that I run. Are you open to that? Yeah, we're open to that. Okay, great. Here's the invoice. Boom, they pay it. And that's how easy it was. It was hard, but I had to jump on some calls and educate them and close the deal, obviously. But it's possible, right? Like anything is possible. And that's what I really want to drive home here right now for every single person. Anything is possible. Anything is possible, right? Impossible to me, that just means I'm possible. And you don't have to go to a Tony Robbins event, although I love their events. I haven't been to one. In all honesty, I've worked with all the people that worked with him. I've been in conferences with Harv Eker, but I haven't been to a Tony Robbins event. I may get to one of these days. But the point is anything is possible. So you have to put yourself out there. You have to ask the questions, and you have to put yourself in a position to succeed. And success occurs when opportunity meets preparation. So, and you're definitely in the right room here. So I know Will probably has to go here, and I got to get going as well. So we'll go over to you, Will, and then we'll go over to Riley for final word, and then uh, and Yvonne and VR, and then I'll wrap us up. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys. Will, over to you.
I'll keep it super short. I've also never been to a Tony Robbins seminar, but I did go to a David Bayer one who worked with Tony. If anyone knows who David Bayer is, he's kind of like younger Tony, right? And what I learned is from going to, I've been to Kiyosaki, I've been to a bunch of these events, and it's the same information. The reason that people go, the reason people get transformation at these places is that the standard is higher. Because like at the place there, it is expected that you are at a certain level. It is expected that you're going to apply the information, right? Because that's why you're there. That's the missing key that most people don't realize. They think that, oh, there's some extra secret source that I can only get by going there. No, it's the same information, just either personalized if you're in the VIP and the Titans program for him, or it's the standard. That's what you're paying for. So you're not missing out on information, just implementation. And then the other thing I wanted to add with what Yvonne was saying earlier on about the content was I really think that there is a path here in terms of human stories, right? So just going back to what you were saying earlier on, right? It's the human story that people buy into because that's what's relatable. If we end up in a world where AI is just everyone's, picture perfect, everyone's got their digital twin, like with what you're looking at today, and that AI is putting out all the content, you lose the relatability. And so someone like Tony, for example, who's a billionaire now, and I have massive respect for him, because again, he's had a great career. He's not relatable to the average person. So they don't really see themselves at that level. They're not able to actually apply that level. And this is why, we've heard so much that you want to help someone who's 2 steps behind you. And I think that that's going to also be true for content. Again, I'm not an authority on this, but I do believe that that's going to be what people look for. It's like, oh, this person's like me. I can relate to them. I want to buy from them because they've been where I am, right? So yes, AI is going to make the content process easier. But again, I just always got that little thing in the back of my mind says, don't lose sight of the fact that it's people dealing with people. And, the shiny billboard is great, but if you can't relate to your audience and they can't relate to you, you might be just creating too much of a gap. So just something to think about.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Bill, like you got to be relatable in your storytelling and yeah, like, check your ego at the door and, go in and with confidence and, stay humble. That's why kind of my sign off and yeah, and funny story though with Tony Robbins, I have to share this. So, when I worked for Harv in, San Diego here in about 2010, 2011, his son Jesse Ecker started working there, Jesse Ecker. And he was in the marketing department and, I was working with a lot of other people and they were like, "Man, Justin, what are you doing to blow up all the socials for Harv?" And I was like, "Well, this is what I'm doing," shared with them and, kind of everyone latched on to some of the strategies and fast forward to now Jesse Ecker is actually the chief marketing officer of Tony Robbins. So pretty crazy, right? Like, worked with Harv's son and now he's the CMO. So a great story there. And Jesse's awesome. And yeah, it was, working in that environment, guys. I mean, it was tough but exciting and I loved it. Like I love personal development. I love this space. And and yeah, like I've been to so many conferences and it's one thing I will say is like, yes, to Will's point, your standards get elevated and but come Monday morning, that's when the real work starts. I mentioned it on an earlier space a couple weeks ago, I think. That's when the real work starts. So yes, everyone's all rah 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 in the conference, but where the real true work starts is on Monday morning when nobody's cheering you on. You don't have your accountability buddy. You're not you know, there's no excuses. It's all on you. This is why you have to become obsessed with your own success. No one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to do it for you. You are in the driver's seat. So become obsessed with your own success. So yeah, with that, let's go to Riley and then VR and Yvonne for final word. And then Will, if you want to say your final word. And yeah, let's start wrapping up here, guys. So thank you. Great space. All right, Riley, over to you. Final word, brother.
I guess I'm gonna do first and final word at the same time. Let me just check if we have any questions here. Nope, no questions. So, yeah, final word. I would say you can listen to everything we're saying right now. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is how you apply it. And so you just invested the last hour of your precious time collecting information and knowledge. And in the last 2 or 3 minutes, if you do in the next 2 or 3 minutes, if you do nothing with this, you would have wasted 1 hour of your life. And as Justin said, we all gonna die sooner rather than later. So now it's up to you to decide, hey, will you make this investment compound? Or you will just toss it into the trash. If your option is B, why did you even show up today? Back to you, Justin.
Wow, powerful. Riley, thanks, brother. And yeah, always appreciate your wisdom that you share. And guys, if you're not following Riley, like, he doesn't just talk a big game, he lives it daily. And his startup journeys have been incredible. And so make sure you follow him and connect with him on LinkedIn too, because he's got some great content over there. And check out what he's doing. Join his community, join his offerings. He's got incredible case studies of some of his students with just small tweaks, and then all of a sudden they're crushing it with their offers. So keep up the great work you're doing, Riley, and we got to get that podcast booked one of these days. So yeah, but always great to see you, man. Yeah, let's go over to VR, and then we'll go to Yvonne and Will for final word.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Coming up on 11 o'clock. Thanks for sharing the time. I think business generally, if you're in business, it's self-improvement, because you realize every day not enough, and people want more from you than you originally thought you were going to give, and it doesn't really end there. You just got to keep on going, and you realize you'll find your holes pretty quickly as you start getting into business. So fill those holes up and just keep getting better.
Yeah, thanks VR for spending some time with us, man. Always good to see you. And yeah, like, find those gaps, and we all have gaps, right? We all have gaps. And, just make sure you're covering your gaps and you're focusing on things you can control, and make sure that you're over delivering for your clients, and, make sure it's in the scope of work. If you're going to change things, this is a big pro tip to VR's point. If you're doing things that are outside of the scope of work, like, make sure it's documented and make sure you're charging accordingly. And I revisit these conversations all the time, like once a month. Well, we're doing extra stuff here, so are you going to bring me on for another day, or, what's the deal here? Oh yeah, we'll bring you on for another day, Justin. Okay, great. And then we have those conversations. So, but just make sure you're being paid for your time. And, you know, we don't want to sell our time for money, right? We want to get away from that model as quickly as possible, but it can take time to do that. Okay, so you got to have a lot of things in place. We'll explore that another day. But yeah, great to see you, VR. Thanks for tapping in, man. Yeah, let's go final word over to Yvonne, and then we'll go to Will, and then we'll wrap up. All right, Yvonne, great to see you back. Over to you.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Yeah, I'll tap into what you said. I'll be quick as well. But like you said, anything's possible, especially now, right? We had the internet that came, like, it made more things possible for people. And now with AI, it really is up to you. And I love what Riley said, right? You got to execute, you got to put it into action. And the biggest message that I'll give to everybody on this journey is, wherever you're at, I always say, just start now, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to need to learn things, right? But that's the only way you're ever going to get better. That's the only way you're going to fine tune. You're really going to grow and be, have the ultimate success, if that's something that you're striving to achieve. And also, look at love here, but if you aren't having health issues, because I've been going through this crap, like, it is irritating as shit. I feel like I get on top and then I fall back off again, and you don't want to lose that momentum. So I'm having to push myself twice as hard as the average person. If you have great health and you want to build a business for yourself right now, whatever that may be, you have no ever. I'm here to tell you right now, because that is literally the one and only thing standing in my way. And it's so much harder when you have something like that you're going through, and you have this momentum, and then you lose it because you have a flare up in your body or some crap like that, and you have to reignite yourself. I mean, I'm literally going full Lou Gehrig, you guys. Like, I decided that for myself the other day. Like, in the days when I'm not at 100% or something, or even if I'm having pain in my body with my health crap I'm dealing with, I'm going to play like Lou Gehrig did, right? God bless that man. He had Lou Gehrig's disease. Thankfully, I don't have that. but he had Lou Gehrig's disease and he was still playing and hitting home runs. And I literally said to myself the other day, I'm going full Lou Gehrig. I don't care if I have pain in my body. I'm going to push through it and make it happen, because I cannot, like you said earlier, Justin, I cannot die with this information inside me if it can help other people. Like Will said, if there are other people who are just starting out and a couple rings behind me, it would be, I think, just awful for me to not share this information to help you excel, especially if you're in great health and you have a lot of potential and possibility to be able to utilize what I've learned over the last several years to really make something happen in your life and change your life and create an incredible success for you and your family. And everybody has that possibility now. I'm not saying there's not going to be fear with it. Let's get real. But you got to push through that fear and move forward. And having a great community of people like in this chat and Justin's community and Will's community and Riley's community, like communities like that, that's how you can, even when you fall or you make mistakes or you have a down day, you keep going. But if you are in good health right now, get up off your ass and do it. There are no excuses. I'm here to tell you right now, because the last thing you want to do is wait, and then something like that happens to you in your life and it knocks you off and you're like, why didn't I start this sooner? I would have been so much better off. And then you're biting yourself in the ass. So do not do that to yourself. Get up off your butt, kick ass today, make it happen, start wherever you are.
Listen, Yvonne, man, we need that kick in the butt once in a while. So I love that. Man, great share. And yeah, keep up the fight, Yvonne. I'm challenged with my own health issues as well, as you guys know. And so yeah, we just keep pushing because there's this fire inside of us that we can't let stay, dim, right? This is why, Yvonne's sign off is always keep your light. Please say your sign off, Yvonne. I miss it. I love it. Please say your sign off.
Oh, goodness, yes. Yvonne Sayers reminding you, don't ever let anyone dim your light, including yourself.
There we go. I love it. Yeah, thanks, Yvonne, so much. Great to have you back in the fold. And yeah, like what are your non-negotiables, guys, right? Everyone should have them, right? Everyone should have their list of non-negotiables and make it very clear and visible. So you can see it every single day I wake up. Okay, these are my non-negotiables: family, faith, health, fitness, my five F's, these are my non-negotiables, and my daily spaces, like Monday through Friday. That's my non-negotiables. And client results and revenue in the bank and doing whatever it takes. That's the non-negotiables. And it's a high standard, as we've talked about. It's a high standard. And it can be overwhelming and it can be draining. But at the end of the day, again, Andy loves to say it. You wake up, it's a good day because you're breathing and you're able to do billing. And that's the name of the game. And transform people's lives, right? Transform people want transformation. People, their businesses, they want their business transformed. They want to transform their business, and we each have individually gifts and characteristics that can help make that happen. And as long as they have the right budget, the right mindset, the right attitude, the right pain point, the right decision maker, the right timing, that's what it's all about. Everything lines up, and then you get into that execution mode. And yeah, so let's go final word over to you, Will, and then I'll sign us off.
Yeah, great stuff. Powerful space today. Great to have you on here. I love the fire that you bring to the table. Again, such good points we've covered here today. I wanted to just turn you guys on to something. I've shared in the space something that Nero Knowledge posted today. If you don't know who he is, he's a young guy from the UK. He's 24. He's a consultant to actors, entrepreneurs. He's got a 500 grand a month client. And he shared something on X today. He's only got a couple hundred views because he's pretty small on here. He's got about 500,000 on YouTube. So I recommend checking it out. And it's just this perfect example of how the inner game literally is the ceiling on your outer game. So I encourage you to read it. It'll show you exactly why we do this work, like why it's so important, why it's not just here's the information, now go. Because the application, like we talked about earlier, is surprisingly simple. Business is simply solving problems in exchange for money. That's the whole game. and then letting people know that you do that. So I really want you to just understand that what we're saying here is not theory. It's not something that's just nice to know. It is the essentials of how to play the game. You got to have the strategy and tactics. You're selling something nobody wants, then you'll never make any money. So get your tactics sorted. But ultimately, you've got to be the kind of person who makes it normal to do the actions that you want. That's the basics of identity change, is making it normal, making it natural, making it who you are. And if you're here every day, then that is a great first step on that process, because you're normalizing hanging around with the right kind of people. And the next step, like Justin said, is to go ahead and take 1 millimeter of action today. I call this the MVA, the minimum viable action. Not that you could take, that the version of you that you want to be would always take no negotiation. That is how you actually make measurable steps in that direction. So think about it. If you want to be a business owner, one MVA that you could take today is, hey, I'm going to have one money-facing conversation. I'm going to tell one person out there what I do. And you can do that today, no matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter where you are on your business stage. Hey, I've got this idea. Hey, I've got this product. You can do that now. But will you? Like, that's the question. Will you do it? That's what we're here to solve. By the way, just a quick plug here, Justin. I am back live later on with Jason, who's in the crowd with us here today, in the BNC, doing some free coaching. So if anybody would like my help with something, back at 7 p.m. UK, and that is in about 3 hours' time. So hopefully we'll see you then. But Justin, thank you for the awesome space. Back to you.
And that coaching session, that's a, $5,000 value. So make sure you put a value on your complimentary services. I've always found that to be good for positioning. So yes, guys, show up, get some coaching from Will live. That's a $5,000 value. So make sure you jump in there. And yeah, I used to do free calls, in the past with many people in exchange for a testimonial video if they were open to it. And yeah, like, your time is valuable, right? Your time is valuable. So make sure you put a price tag on your time, and don't let people walk all over you, right? Like I direct people, if they want free coaching, free advice or whatever, I just tell them go to a space. Even people not even on X, I tell them, look, you want free stuff, you go join my newsletter, or you can go to a space and ask your questions. I host those daily, Monday through Friday. So yeah, value your time. And the last point I'll make is there's always going to be people below your level, people at your level, and people above your level. Now, obviously, you're learning from people above your level, but also see how you can support them and do some things for them in exchange for the value that you offer, right? If there's a particular skill set you have that they don't have, or you're more versed, for example, in AI, right, than somebody, you can help them with that, right? And then the people at your level, you continue networking with, you continue supporting, leveling up together. That's why a mastermind is a very powerful environment. Proximity of power, power of proximity. And then there's people below your level, right? You want to help them level up, right? You want them to attend these spaces, attend the masterminds, and really get value. They execute, and then they check back in, right? We need to close the loop. So make sure, with some key learnings that you've had today, make sure you go out there, you execute, and then you come back and you check back in and you say, hey, based on that space, this is what I got out of it. This was my key takeaway. This was the action I took. And then here are the results. You need to come full circle. Don't, because your mind is a, constant loop. So you need to make sure you close the loop, right? This is why mentally you need to make sure you're closing the loop. You need to make sure you're closing the loop on relationships, on client engagements. And I never close the loop on my endeavors and aspirations from, 2008, 2009. I never closed the loop, which is why I've been going so hard for the last 2.5 years, because I didn't close that chapter. So after 5 layoffs, the fifth one just really hit me. I was like, you know what? I'm going all in, right? There's no more playing it safe. There's no more half-assing it. I'm going all in. And it was that decision that brought me to where I am today. And so you will find yourself with these pivotal decisions in your life, whether it's by force or by choice. And just, you got to make it happen. You got to make it happen. So just remember, guys, at the end of our lives, we'll ask ourselves 4 simple questions. Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? And did I make a difference? Until next time, keep making a difference. Build that mind, build that body, build that business, build that bank account, but most importantly, build that legacy. So stay healthy, stay hungry, and stay humble. We'll see you guys at the top. If you want to keep growing, check out the Revenue Running community. Prices are going up. And yeah, we'd love to have you part of the paying community. The mission is very clear: 1,000 Ronins, all focused on sales and marketing mastery, building their businesses and their legacies. And thank you everyone for their contributions. Will, Yvonne, Riley, everyone else down below. Thanks guys for being here. And make sure you check out Will on Jason Barrett's space later on today. Good to see you, Jason. Spoon, Hoops, Never Married, Dating, Olympus, Jane, Jason, Dan, Drac, Rose, Autumn, the engineer, Wally, good to see you, and everyone else. Tama, thanks for the message, Tama. I saw that. I'll keep you in mind. Appreciate that. And Automation, thanks guys. Thanks for spending some time. Hopefully you guys got some value, and we'll see you tomorrow in the Startup Circle community for wins of the week. And why do we end the week with wins of the week? Because majority of business is just lessons learned and winning. There's no losses. It's just lessons learned and winning. That's the mindset. That's the standard. So, all right, guys. I know I'll be filming live from later on tonight. I'll try to go live at the HeyGen event. So, Hoops, I don't know if you heard that, but I'll be at the HeyGen event in LA today. So, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific. So yeah, that'll be cool to experience. But yeah, guys, wishing you all the best. Make it a great, productive, but most importantly, profitable day. And we'll see you back tomorrow. All right, much love.